Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back so that we can chat about what is happening up in the sky above us for the weekend. Yay! Happy Friday, the 13th. The luckiest day of the year, I might add. There are probably other Friday the 13th this year. I should check that and see. But for me, today is a banner day because the planet Saturn moves into Aries. We got a taste test of this in the early fall or early spring last year. And now he's back for his 2.5-year stay in the sign of fire, in the sign of creativity that is being put into action, and in a sign that is very youthful and dynamic and ruled by the planet Mars. So today is Friday the 13th. Today, Saturn moves back into Aries. And then next week, Saturn turns into a conjunction with Neptune, now in Aries. And this is not subtle energy. And this is fire meeting spirit. I was thinking about this morning as one of the things that I was looking at was the fact that Saturn is structure and form and discipline, right? And the foundation of something that needs to be there in order to support building or moving on to the next level. And then I was thinking about fire, how it burns, how it destroys, and its destructive powers, sometimes totally changing the face of the landscape, right? But then I thought fire has another really good quality to it, and it is a creative force. If anyone has ever been around a fire in, the states of the West here, we are always, involved with forest fires, and watched how a forest springs back after that. For example, even Mount St. Helens, when she blew, you look now and at the time that there was utter destruction, right? Once the smoke cleared and all of that, we could see this utter destruction. But very shortly came more animals back to the place. Plants began to come back through the soil, kind of fed by the nutrients that the fire left behind. So fire also has this very creative energy to it. And as I was thinking about Saturn and Aries, I thought that this was our opportunity to focus the fire before it burns us, right? To focus the fire into some creative format or to some creativity project, or somehow use it in a creative way to build something that's both individual, but then also something that we can build as a collective that will stand the test of time. Saturn likes to stand the test of time, that has direction, that has dynamism attached to it, but that doesn't necessarily have to burn us or destroy us, right? Or destroy the earth, destroying everything in sight, so to speak. So it's a very interesting combination, I think. And then as we look at Neptune in the sign of Aries, to me, as I was thinking about this whole thing this morning, it was just like this picture in my head. Actually, the graphic that I used for the thumbnail in YouTube, but also in Facebook, comes from this picture I had in my head of Neptune and its relationship now to what I would say is a fifth element, right? We have fire, air, earth, and water. But we also have an element called ether, and ether is spirit, right? So ether, spelled A-E-T-H-E-R, is spirit. So we have spirit, fire, earth, air, and water. And we don't normally talk about the elements like that. We're very this is it fits so nicely into four corners, right? Or the four directions and things like that. But there's this fifth energy. And Neptune, even though it's a planet that we think of as spirit, and sometimes we associate it with the watery depths. Neptune was the god of the deep or the ocean, and having to do with weather and earthquakes and floods and things like that. He's really of spirit, right? Neptune is a planet of ether. So now we have fire and a la Aries, right? Aries, fire. We have Saturn, which we really think of as the earth, right? He rules the sign of Capricorn, a very earthy, practical sign. And then there's Neptune that I'm thinking is related much more to ether or spirit. So we have fire, earth, and spirit meeting up for the next several years. Fire, earth, and spirit meeting up for the next several years. So this is not subtle energy, right? This isn't subtle. And it's fire that meets spirit. So fire, creativity, passion, joyfulness meeting up with spirit. And then the question then from the bigger picture, if we step back, is can we focus the fire before it burns us? Right? Can we do that individually in our own personal lives? And can we do that as a collective without having to dissolve into the fight that fire can bring as well? So I think of Saturn and Aries as this sacred container, right? Sacred container. And if we start here with Saturn, Saturn representing, of course, the structure, maturity, right? How have we as human beings matured? And the responsibility that we have to not only be good stewards of the earth, but to be good and kind people to one another, and also boundaries, and also the long-term thinking. Saturn is taking us in Aquarius, the energy is about the future. In Capricorn, the energy is also about the future, but it's about creating right now what needs to be able to stand the test of time. And so what we have is Aries energy now representing ignition and instinct and intuition or initiation into something new, something big, something raw, something beautiful. It is this raw creative fire. And it is the I am energy, right? Every sign in the zodiac has a little mini phrase that goes with it. And in Aries, that little mini phrase is I am. And then you can fill in the blank with something else, right? Or you can just be I am, right? And be in your presence. And Aries also strikes the match, right? It lights the fire. It fans the flames. And Saturn builds the hearth, the sacred container of that flame, right? Or that is the aspiration that we have, that our sacred hearth, our Saturn, becomes the container for our sacred fire. And wherever it is then that Aries is in your natal chart, your astrology chart that I'm talking about right now, this is where you have to consider that sacred container and where is it leading you? What house is it in, which is the representation of an area of your life. And let's say, like, for example, in my own chart, it's in the house of career and profession. And that to me is about, well, where is my outer world life? How am I going to show up for each one of you, right? Or how am I going to show up in my work? How is that going to be a sacred container for the expression of who I am, for my creative energies? Let's say you have an Aries rising, and that means that Aries energy, Saturn and Neptune, are now on your first house. This is very personal for you because it is your I am. The first house is the house of I am. And who are you? What is your identity? Who are you wanting to be? What are you wanting to create? It becomes very personalized for you. And oppositely, let's say you have it in the seventh house. Now it's who are you in the context of relationships and the agreements that you enter into and how you show up as a partner, either in your business or in your personal life. How do relationships shape you in a creative way, right? And of course, there are 9 other houses that Aries can be in your chart. And this is where this creative fire is coming into clarity for everyone as we move forward. Now, this transit of Saturn, even though we think of Saturn sometimes as the container, right? We think of it sometimes as constriction. I mean, that is a word we could use for Saturn because he's boundaries, right? And boundaries imply some sort of constriction. But this transit of Saturn in Aries is not about constricting or suppressing your passion, right? It's not squelching your creative energy. It's about refining it, bringing it into a container that supports it, and then with intention, setting it loose out there in the world or in your life, right? It doesn't have to be you doing something big on the stage of the world. It could be you doing something big on the stage of your family or in your work or in your home or in your fill in the blank, right? Wherever that is for you. And it takes the impulsive energy of fire because Aries is impulsive. This is very youthful dynamics in the sign of Aries, and that youthful dynamic needs some form of structure, right? We don't let our kindergartners just wander off and go, wherever they want to in the world. We don't let them drive. We don't let them vote, right? Because they have a container that is supportive of the age that they're at, of their capabilities in the moment, so and what have you. So we can't take all of that impulsive Aries energy and just throw it out there, because we end up in civil wars or we end up in revolutions, right? We end up destroying rather than really being in a creative place. But it does take courage, right? Courage is not one of those things that we can just have or not have. We have to have courage to step forward, to create sustainable leadership, to look at what is going on around us and in our own personal lives as well, because you are the leader of your own life. And is the higher expression of Saturn and Aries coming through you, right? Is it disciplined creativity? Is it focused action? Are you taking focused action? This isn't energies of like fireworks or flares. I mean, certainly that could be a part of it, but this is the slower burn energy. This is for, taking a look at the long stretch of time ahead of you and not letting that passion burn out so fast, right? We want to keep it sustained. But in the shadow, and there's always a shadow, as you know, the shadow is about burning it down, right? Burning it down. It's about frustration. It can be all about anger and impatience. And it can be anger that masquerades as strength. It can be structures collapsing because we didn't build them properly. We didn't have a solid foundation before we built it. And I don't mean structures just like houses or, buildings. I mean structures like of our systems, of the relationships that you're in, of the things that you're creating, right? Saturn demands a sort of sustainability factor in that. And Saturn asks us, are we building something or are we reacting to something? Are we just leaping out there because we're reacting to something that has prompted us to take action? And, likely it's a combination, right? We're going to have times where, even I can see myself impulsively doing things because it feels good in the moment, right? And this is where, knowing your human design is really going to come in helpful. These next 2.5 years while Saturn is in this sign is really going to be helpful for you, because you'll know where to go with your energy, how to start something, how to sustain it or not sustain it, how to align with your authority. And if you do not know what I'm talking about, you definitely need to have a human design consultant do your human design reading for you. And I am one of those. You can come to me or anybody else for that matter that does human design, as it is the most important thing, I think, as a survival tool, if you will, to get us through these next few years. Now, we also have Neptune sitting in Aries, right? He just moved in there last week. And in 7 days, 1 week from today, Saturn and Neptune will come into their epic conjunction, right? We've been talking about this ad nauseum almost for a couple of years, or at least looking to it to come. And of course, we've talked about it off and on here, right, in the morning show. But this is where this gets deeper, right? This whole story gets deeper. And Neptune is not playing the role of water here, right? This isn't necessarily the watery depths of Neptune. This is the unseen. This is spirit, the collective dream, if you will, and the imaginal realm. The imaginal realm I put directly in the energy of spirit, right? This is, it's not touchable yet. It's a dream, right? Or it's an image that we have, that we're creating in our minds. It's a fantasy, perhaps it's illusion even. And the illusion has not yet been made real, or we mistake it for being real. It's mysticism, right? You'll notice I used a sorceress this morning in the image for the thumbnail, because sorceress to me is what this energy is all about. Neptune here, creating, using, kind of harnessing that creative fire, and using Saturn's ability to structure and bring form to spirit, which is formless, right? How do we bring spirit into form? And in Pisces, where Neptune and Saturn have been, Pisces, Neptune, Saturn was dissolving, was like disintegrating, was breaking apart, was showing through like the holes in the picture. And in Aries, Neptune ignites spirit. And this is not fire meeting water here. This is fire meeting air, ether, not air even, but ether, spirit. And the ether as spirit ignites our passion, right? This is the invisible field through which energy moves, right? It's all around us. We can feel it, right? If you move your hands back and forth, you can feel this energy field around us. Ether, right? Spirit. And Neptune in Aries now becomes inspired ignition, can become inspired ignition, right? It's really, I say can become, because it can also become its shadow, which is action, impulsive action based on impulse that isn't real, right? Based on non-reality. So here we have myth, the myth that becomes movement, that propels us forward. It is us embodying spirit, or spirit embodied. This is the divine spark that enters into action, right? We all know what that divine spark is, right? It's that part of us that feels the inspiration, that feels the excitement, that feels the joyfulness that comes before we take action on something, right? The excitement that builds. And that divine spark entering into action is what we're, looking at right here in front of us. Even as Saturn this afternoon at 4:09 p.m. my time, West Coast time, so 7:09 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast, is when Saturn enters into Aries. Now, you probably, like me, are already feeling the energy. I was looking for music this morning that would embody this energy, and the closest thing I could come to in my first inkling was a song by Fall Out Boy, where the lyrics are, light 'em up, 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 light 'em up, 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 and then I'm on fire. That is and I can't remember the name of the song. It's like my music knows what you did in the dark, or something like that is the actual name in the song. But that is what we're feeling at this moment, because in this moment, at 0 degrees of Aries, all is possible, right? All is possible. The highest of the high is possible, and so is the lowest of the low, right? It's all possible. And then as next week comes and we get Saturn and Neptune in the exact same degree, but they are already, right? They are. Structure meets spirit, and form meets inspiration. And this could be extraordinary for us individually and for us collectively. The higher expression of all of this energy is vision that's given structure. It's spiritual courage. It's the inspired leadership. That's what we're looking for out there in the world. If you're not looking for that, if you're not thinking about who inspires you, that is what this energy will push us, propel us toward. We're not going to be able to just look out there and see these people that are dragging us under and stick with them anymore. This is the energy of the mystic who takes action. And yet, without Saturn's containment, this energy really doesn't go anywhere, right? It's just, it's not focusable. So we have to be able to focus this Saturn energy. And if we didn't have Saturn's energy, we have conviction, but without grounding. We have belief that becomes weaponized. Possibility, right? We have spiritualized aggression. We have fanaticism. These are the watch out for things, right? These are the things that you're going to watch out for. And in yourself, but also in others, right? We see it, somewhat already. We've been seeing it off and on for the last several months. And this is not about emotional overwhelm. There is a layer of emotional energy here, but this is inspiration that needs some kind of boundaries, but can also become boundaryless. And it's just moving in all directions at once. And Saturn then becomes the sacred container here for us to hold the flame, right? It's the hearth, or it's the fireplace, or it's the, propane stove, or the kerosene lantern, right? It holds the flame. And the difference between where we've been with Piscean energy with Saturn and Neptune and where we're headed with fire energy in Aries is the difference between revelation and that aha inspirational high and destruction, right? In destruction. So we are in a very interesting pattern, don't you think? And I want to know if you guys are feeling it out there. Let me know. Tell me in the chat. I'm going to go back over here real quick and say good morning to everybody who's showing up for us this morning. Good morning, Narges. Good to see you. Teddy Hickox, good morning. 13ers. Love, share, and subscribe to get this energy out here. Get people knowing what are we doing. And J-Lo, good morning. Happy Friday to you as well. Christine Buckingham, good morning. Joan Durchie, good morning. Tina, nice to have you with us this morning. Christine Buckingham has this going on in her 12th house. So you have a 12th house Aries. So your fire is kind of hidden. It's more specified, right? It's not like all over your face, right? It's kind of personalized. It's maybe even a little bit invisible. Maybe it's more contained. And maybe this energy will help you unleash it a bit in your life. Good morning, Patty. And J-Lo says, yes, I have to get mine for this year. We'll tap in with you. Good. Perfect. Tina Wildenauer, I am amazed with the reading you just did for me. And we didn't even get through all of it yet, right? It is vast. And I have been doing human design since I think 2013 is when I first heard about it. It was actually 2012 when I first heard about it, and then set out to learn it in 2013. And by 2014, I was doing readings for people. And I'm still discovering truths about myself in the midst of all of that. So it's, I can feed you the information, but it's up to you to live it. Right? So it's a practice, and it's something that you keep working on within yourselves. And J-Lo, you know this because you're always studying your astrology and human design and gene keys and going into the different layers that these things bring up for us. So I'm excited to share at least the initial ideas with all of you and then let you go so you can figure out yourself, right? Or find your passion and find the true, authentic you in that field of energy. And Tamara, good morning. Jana, good morning. TD Hawk would love to attend the class. Is it on Zoom? Yes, it is. And what you're all seeing on the screen, if you're on YouTube right now, is the link to purchase the Astrology of 2026 or Astro Design 2026 webinar. It is next Saturday from 9 a.m. Pacific to about 11 a.m. Pacific. It is recorded, and all people registered will get the recording. But as well, I'm going to show you in your own chart. For example, here's a chart of today. And you see how I highlight certain things, and I want to show you in your personal natal chart where things are highlighted for 2026. So each of you will get that as well. It won't be a lot of details because I just simply don't have the time, but it will be something that gives you an idea where in my life is 2026 going to be working away at my energy, right? So if you want to do that, click on that link. And if you can't click on the link, just copy and paste it, and it will take you to where you can purchase the webinar. It's $25, and I'd love to see you all there. Paulette, good morning to you. Tamara says, my Saturn is in my second house ruled by Pisces. So are you talking about your natal Saturn then, as opposed to the transiting Saturn that has now moved into Aries? Because now you're going, if your Saturn is in Pisces, then you're looking at having to take that Piscean energy of self-worth and self-esteem and confidence and earning power. And you're going to have to move it into Aries energy by making some new starts, doing something different, being very creative, being very sovereign in how you move forward with your life. Heather Yielding says, yes, good to see you, Heather. And Tamara, oh, so Chiron is in that house as well. Should I be concerned? No, don't be concerned. Be proactive. What does it mean for you? Where's the wound that you have there, right? Where's the healing path that you are undertaking? And again, these are actually, I'm going to pause right here and I will go back and say good morning to the rest of you that I haven't talked to yet. But I woke up, not yesterday morning, the morning before. I woke up at like 4:30, went back to sleep sort of, but I started thinking about Chiron. And Chiron to me he's almost like a hard to pin down, right? I know what my wounds are, but what I started thinking about at 4:30 in the morning was about how before Chiron was discovered in 1978, there was all of this unconscious stuff that was going on in the wounding pattern of my particular life. So for any of you that were born before 1978, you were experiencing Chiron, but it was moving inwardly through your unconsciousness, right? So then when Chiron became visible to us, or when we've discovered it in 1978, those wounds become more conscious, right? More visible. And I was thinking about, well, when Chiron was discovered, it was in Taurus, and he moves back into Taurus on June 19th, actually on my birthday this year. Chiron moves into Taurus. Maybe that was why it was in my head. And so those unconscious things that were occurring in my life when Chiron was first discovered, likely coming up in my face as Chiron moves in for the healing path as, I'm beyond the age of 50. So I want to put this into a webinar, a class. Now, I don't know that I'm going to be able to offer that in March. I'm going to try, but if not, it will be either April or May, maybe even May, because it'll be closer to Chiron's move into the next sign. But I want everybody to think of their Chiron as, some things that are so deep, so unconscious, that happened in your childhood, maybe, right? I was 16, I think it was 17 when Chiron was discovered. So there was 16 or 17 years of some unconscious patterns being seeded, within me. And then they jump out, right, and become much more available and conscious after Chiron is discovered. So what does that look like for each one of us, right? And when you think about the grander scheme of your Chiron, for example, Tamara, that's in the second house. What was going on? I can't remember how old you are or what year you were born, but in those years before Chiron was discovered, if you were born before 78, what unconscious things were beating up your self-worth, or your thoughts about how much money you could earn, what your worth was in terms of value, and what could you charge for what you do, and how has that changed, or how has the wound become made more manifest for you? How has it become less manifest for you? And think about that, right? So the wound, you're dealing with it because it's in your face, right? It's in your face. Okay, so Mystique, J-Lo, I have 11th house Aries with Chiron and Jupiter there. So the 11th house is about your bigger vision and dream, your goals, but it's also your community and the people that you hang out with, right? Your friends or the networks of people that you choose to be around, and what needs to change with that. Are they inspiring you or are they not? So look at that. Jana says Aries is in her 9th house. The 9th house is the house of spirit, right? It's the house of the higher view of the universe, right? It's the 9th house of philosophy and beliefs, your higher self, and also travel and seeing the broader horizon. So it's a really good place for you. Maybe more travel, maybe more working with concepts that are broadening or expanding horizons for yourself, but maybe even for others. And TD Hawk Tamara is going to register. Yay! Gayla, hi there. Fired. Facing rejection from family and friends. Luckily, as an Aries ascendant, Scorpio with Venus in Aquarius, I shall rise as a phoenix and make it worth it. Absolutely. Gayla, so you have an Aries ascendant. So you're being asked to align with your personal vision. So I'm guessing if you were literally fired from a job, if that's what you meant, or fired from your family, that might be what the rejection thing is all about. It means that there was a misalignment perhaps in the way that you had been living your passion or living your desires. And this is an opportunity for you to course correct, right? Sometimes the universe does us a big favor in some of the things that, happen. Okay, Tammy, so many new starts starting to move forward this year, indeed. But let's be careful. I don't want to characterize this as, all go signs. The best way to move forward is along the lines of your type and your strategy. So, for example, if you're a projector and you have splenic authority, the spleen tells you that you are intuitive. And there's a small voice that tells you when you're invited into something that this is correct for you or not correct for you. If you're a generator and you have emotional authority, you still have to be aware of impulsivity, right? Because the emotions have to be aligned with that action and with your strategy of responding to what shows up in your outer world. Same for you manifesting generators. You have to wait. It can't come from pure inspiration. And I think this is where we could get into some trouble during this period of time, because inspiration strikes, we want to take action, and that leads to impulsive action or doing things outside of the realm of what our type and strategy is leading us to do. So we could be not selves instead of our real selves, right? So we got to be careful with that impulsivity, with that inspiration, kind of harness it for our good, focus it for our good. Aries rules my 3rd house, and Ceres is in that house. So you are nurturing words. You are nurturing thoughts and ideas. And I think you're also a singer, Tamara. So maybe you're taking those and putting those into songs, into music, right? Into inspiration that reaches out to other people through that medium. And let's see, it's me, Namira. Good morning to you. Tina, wise one you are. Thank you. And thank you for your teachings. Thank you, guys. It's my gift that I love to share with the people out there in the world. And, if I know sometimes I get way off into the teacher mode, and I am naturally that way, but I also hope that you are feeling this viscerally inside, right? That you're understanding this energy more than just knowing it but really feeling it, connecting with it. Okay. Now, let's talk about something else happening this weekend. So Saturn has been our big focus this morning, moving into the sign of Aries, but we also have another planet, the sun, not really a planet, our star, coming into a square with Uranus. And as you know, as we talked through February so far, we've had Mercury squaring Uranus. So the high mind, low mind coming together in some kind of tension and having to, think our thoughts from a higher perspective. We also then had Venus last week moving into the square with Uranus, and now it's our hearts and our values. And we talked about how Venus is also in mythology this like milquetoast kind of character, but in reality, she's always been this very fiery energy of the fire of creative passion, right? And how is that playing out in our world? Well, this weekend now, the sun will be the third of four bodies that come together in the square to Uranus. And remember, Uranus is inspiration. He is our higher mind. He is our nervous system. He is liberation and awakening and shock and awe, right? Sometimes there's the shock factor. Now, we've already seen this disruption happening in the outer world for this month. I mean, in your own life, you may have already felt this as well. Mercury squared Uranus, the mind was shaken. When Venus squared Uranus, our values were shaken. And now the sun squares Uranus on Sunday, and our identity is shaken. So for those of you who have a first house Aries, and now a sun that is squaring Uranus, your identity's really being shaken up. Who are you, right? Who am I? But our nervous systems are also very lit up during this period of time. And that can mean anxiety gets lit up. It can mean that we have this desire that's so strong and we want to break free from the old patterns. And that can lead us to take impulsive action. So we want to beware a little bit about that. Remember, Saturn in Aries is asking us to break free, but to what? Into what? Right? Where is our passion? Where is our creative? Where is our creativity, our inspiration? Where is all of that? And are you prepared to build what comes next? Have you even considered how you build your dream? And now there's this human design layer that I'm going to talk about. By the way, hold on. Before I go much further, let me add the chart of the day to the screen here for everybody to see. So I've highlighted here these three signs: Aquarius, Pisces, Aries. Look at your own chart, find those three signs, because this is where literally 90% of the action is taking place, right? In Aquarius right now, we still have Pluto, and we will until 2044. So he's moving slowly, but he is transforming everything to do with Aquarius, the future, humanity, our connection to one another. Mars is also in Aquarius, and the sun is still in Aquarius. The rising sign of this particular chart is also Aquarian energy. And then if we look at Pisces, we can see Pisces is being activated now as well with Venus and Pallas Athena. The North Node is transiting backwards. They always transit backwards through the sign. So it's moving toward the 0 degrees. I think today it's about 9 degrees. We also have Mercury here. And Mercury is going to retrograde shortly, right? And retrograding in the sign of Pisces. And then there's Aries. And right, I circled there Saturn and Neptune. Saturn right now at 29 degrees, 58 minutes of Pisces. In 2 minutes of cosmic time, Saturn will be in the sign of Aries, right? At 4:09 p.m. PST. So EST, that's 7:09. And that then is Saturn joining Neptune. And then as well, Ceres, the mother goddess, the nurturing goddess, the goddess of the earth, and Chiron and Eris are all in the sign of Aries. And then, spread about, we have the moon over there in Capricorn for the weekend. We have Jupiter in Cancer. We have Uranus in Taurus, but the main energies are in Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries. And that's, 1/4 of your chart energies that are being lit up right now, wherever that is. So in this chart, it's first, second, third house. In my chart, it's 10th, 11th, and 12th house. Is it? No, it is 10th, ninth, and eighth house. Got to go backwards. And that is something very interesting for us to take a look at. Like in our lives, there's 1/4 of these areas of our lives that are lit up for us to really consider what it is that we're going to be doing with it. Now, I want to switch over to, let me remove this. Now I want to share my screen from the human design perspective because, we're not looking at just desire coming up or showing up in our planetary energy. It's also showing up in human design energy, because this is the day that we move into a new gate of the sun and a new earth gate. And now we have the sun in the gate 30. So down here at the bottom right corner of the screen, this is your solar plexus. This is the energy of emotion and creative force, right? Creative energy here. And this is the cradle of creative energy, but it is also the energy of the creativity that is getting ready to be expressed in the outer world. And the gate 30 right here, this piece is called the gate of passion. Like, I can't make this up, you guys, right? All of this energy is just right in our faces. And that is the gate of desire in traditional human design. And the desire here was really, and well, we'll talk about it in a deeper way, but it was also hunger, the hunger that we have for something. Now, the earth is the fellow gate on this transit this week, and that is at gate 29 on the sacral center. So we're looking at the second center up from the bottom. And the gate 29 is called the gate of commitment, or the gate of devotion in quantum human design. I always think of this as the gate that says yes, right? It says yes to life. It says yes to opportunity. It says, yes, I want that, right? Based on the desire and passion being triggered. And we leap, right? This is a gate sometimes where we just leap both feet into the fire. Now, this has emotional intensity with it, right? So this is a week already where I could tell you the emotional energy is ramped way up. In human design, we call the gate 30 a red flag gate because it amps up this energy. And it's longing. This is the hunger for experience. This is the desire to feel alive, right? To be alive. Now, in the gene keys, the gate 30 is in the shadow, the gate of desire, or the energy of the shadow is desire. In the gift level, it is lightness, right? And interesting because it's not light like the light of the sky. It's light like holding your desires lightly, holding your wants and holding that lightly, right? Not strangle holding on top of it. And in the highest expression, the siddhi, which is the Sanskrit word for highest expression, is the word rapture. Try that word on for size, rapture. And this is not calm energy. And this is burning, emotional energy. And now the earth comes in and grounds us at 29. And it says, commitment. What are you committed to? What are you willing to commit to? Wholly, fully, right? With devotion. And this is the yes that sustains, right? Not the yes that goes in and says half-heartedly, now I'm out of this, right? I really didn't want this, right? Because it made the decision the right way. It entered into the agreement the right way. In the gene keys, the gate 29, in its shadow is half-heartedness, right? It's like, yeah, I felt pushed or forced, or in some way I said yes to something that I was really only halfway into, and now I'm regretting it. Now it feels like obligation. And now literally my energy becomes a drain on the group energy or on the energy of a project or an event because I'm only half-heartedly committed to it. So saying yes to the right things right in the beginning is the most important thing. And you say yes in the beginning because you entered into it using your strategy and your authority in your human design. In the gift level, the gate 29 is commitment, right? When you are committed, I can sustain the long journey through this particular event or this thing that I'm doing. And in the highest expression, it's devotion. I am devoted to my work. I am devoted to my family. I'm devoted to this project. Okay. So now, we have the sun saying, what do you desire? What do you desire? And then we have the earth saying, will you commit? Right? What do you desire? Am I entering into it correctly? And then will I commit? And then Saturn and Aries saying, build it properly. Don't just slap up some walls and a foundation. Build it properly. Neptune saying, is it aligned with spirit? Right? Is it aligned with inspiration and the inspiritedness that it takes to devote your time and effort and money and values to a project or to something? And Saturn and Neptune are both at the gate 25 now. This is the gate 25. It is on the identity center. It is called the gate of the love of spirit in traditional human design. In quantum human design, it's just the gate of spirit, right? This is the love of spirit. This is innocence. This is universal love, right? It takes love energy to sustain something, right? To move something forward. And in the gene keys, the gate 25 or the gene key 25, in the shadow is constriction, where you constrict your heart, right? Where you constrict love. And in the gift, it becomes the energy of acceptance. And in the highest expression, the energy of Saturn and Neptune at the gate 25 becomes universal love. I can't wait. Right? I can't wait, because so right now is not that, right? So the fire of desire must be aligned with spirit, right? And by the way, if you are looking at this in your own chart, take a note whether you have something sitting at gate 30, a planet. Do you have something at gate 29? Do you have something at gate 25? In my chart, I have something at every one of those gates. I have something, every one of those gates has another planet on it. That's not the same planet that is going to be there. So extra devoted energy here in my own personal chart, which I think is hysterically funny because I seem to be very inspirited these days, like on my soapbox even. All right. So the fire of desire must be aligned with spirit. That's the first rule, right? It has to be aligned with something you truly love, with your passion. And if you are only halfway in, that is not okay, right? Because then you get obligated and it becomes like a noose around your neck. It can also become ego-driven craving for, something else. Like you keep adding to the desire because it's not quite fulfilling for you. And desire without devotion can become chaotic. And devotion without spirit becomes rigidity, right? You're stuck. You're stuck in an old pattern. You're stuck in an ideal that has no expression. And devotion here really requires spirit, and spirit without structure becomes delusion, right? It's just this fantasy, this delusion and illusion with no outlet, no place for it to go. And structure without heart becomes control, where we're being controlled, somebody trying to control you personally, you trying to control someone or an outcome rather than holding it lightly, right? Holding it lightly. And this is the alchemy of the moment that we find ourselves in for this week, but for the next couple and a half years, right? Maybe even longer if we consider Neptune is here for 12 years, right? So here's the invitation, right? For the week, but also for the time period as we move forward, is where in your personal life is the fire rising? Where is the desire, the passion, the fire coming up from within? Right? The belly. Where is your belly here in all of this? What do you deeply desire? That's a question I think we don't ask ourselves enough of. Like if I think about, well, what do I really desire? There are certain key words that come up for me. Freedom, right? Freedom is the biggest one. Liberation, right? Freedom and liberation. Then the next question is, are you committed or are you just excited about something? Like I can be very excited about listening to music, but am I committed to making music? I don't think anybody would listen to music that I would make because I'm not particularly musically inclined. However, I am committed to certain things in my life, right? And what are you committed to? And does that go beyond just the momentary excitement of being committed to something? Is your desire aligned with spirit? Does this feel all encompassing? Does this feel bigger than just your physical being? Are you reacting to something or are you refining the expression of something? And this is not going to be a week. This isn't going to be a time period just for dabbling. Dabblers, you might dabble a little, but somewhere along the line, you're going to be asked to commit to something real, something exciting, something passionate, something that you desire, that you will be devoted to. And what will that be? And it doesn't have to be just one thing, by the way. It can be multiple things. This will be a week for you to determine, where is that devotion taking me? And this will be a week to focus the fire of Aries, right? Focusing that fire. All right. So in closing today, fire can destroy, right? Fire energy has that destructive tendency, but fire can also forge, right? Swords, metal is forged in fire, right? It gives it its strength. It gives us its malleability, its ability to be shaped into something useful. Now, Saturn has entered Aries, or will enter Aries later today, not to extinguish your passion, but to mature it, to bring it out of the dark and into some form of structure. Neptune is igniting your spirit into action. It's prompting this, right? It's like behind the scenes prompting the bigger picture. Gate 30 in your human design on the emotional solar plexus is stirring that desire. It's saying focus on what it is you love. Gate 29 on your sacral center leading up toward the identity center is asking you to commit to what you love, to commit to that desire. And Neptune and Saturn at gate 25 are reminding you that you anchor it all in the love of spirit, right? In the love that moves beyond the physical. And the question isn't whether or not the fire exists. It does. It exists in every one of us. The real question is, will you focus that fire energy before it burns you, right? And that is what our sky above looks like for the weekend, for the week ahead, for the months and even years ahead for all of us. All right. So what y'all think about that? Tell me what's going on in your heads. I'm going to go back a little bit to our people I was saying hello to, because I got off on my tangent. And Jana, when is the webinar? The webinar is next Saturday, the 21st. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. That will be noon to 2 p.m. East Coast time. I may also have like a 30-minute question and answer period after that for people who, have those questions. And as well, it's recorded. So everybody who registers gets the recording. So there's that. Thank you for asking about that, Jana. And let's see, Mystique says, yes, I'm always sharing your information. Thank you so much for sharing it. And Christine Buckingham, 12th house Aries, Black Moon Lilith, 11th house Pisces, the Sun and Mercury, 10th house Aquarius, Chiron, Venus, midheaven. Yowza. So not only do you have these transiting planets moving through those three signs, i.e. those three houses in your life, you also have planets that are inhabiting those houses. So this might feel like a very prominent time in your life, right? Where you're, bringing some things out of the dark, right? That 12th house, bringing them out of the dark. The 11th house, where is it that you're going to share some of that information and what networks and what is the bigger dream that you have about these things? And then also the 10th house, which, you know, is career and profession, reputation, but it's your social self. It's the face that you show to the, it's how the world sees you, right? It's what you show to the world. And those are things that are all up in your life right now, Christine. It'll be really interesting to hear from you about how this plays out over the next several weeks and months. And Mystique, I have design, I see at the 25 gate, 25.6, and personality, I see at 29.6, personality midheaven at 30.6, and design Lilith at 30.5. You get a theme. I get a theme going here through your life, J-Lo, and that's desire and passion. And where is it flowing? What is it? What's being built? What are you building from that desire and that passion and that spirit? And Namira, I hope it will be good that Saturn left Pisces as Virgin. Pisces. I had the sun square my sun and was drained. Yeah, Virgo. Okay, Virgo. Yes. I think about the sun squaring the nodes, like what you're describing, or the sun was squaring your sun. Okay, I see what you're saying now. As an opportunity, as an invitation for you to take the right action for the sun that is the essence of who you are in your life. So anywhere, and sometimes it is where you've been devoting a lot of time and action and energy to the wrong things. And that does create fatigue, or it can create this feeling of tiredness, Namira. So I feel like, you know, it's your opportunity to reconfigure how it is that you are expressing the essence of who you are out in the world. In whatever way, you know, that you've been expressing it, have you been hiding a part of you? And is there something more true, more alive that wants to be expressed now? Because that's how I see that this is playing out. And you're welcome, Christine. And Saturn squared my sun. Sorry, Saturn squaring your sun is a bummer. I have been there, done that. And yet, in a way, it has also brought some scrutiny for me to look at my life and how it is I'm expressing my essence. I had a big realization over these last couple of months that I think was prompted probably by Saturn squaring my sun earlier. And that is that I was putting a lot of time, effort, and energy into doing things that I thought were the correct things to do for a business, because, you know, all the noise out there from people is all about, you know, how to get your business up leveled, how to, you know, gain the algorithms on Facebook and Insta and TikTok, and which I can't stand TikTok, and it's just not me. And, you know, all of that. And I bought into it. And then I hurt myself, and I, you know, was kind of taken out for a while here. And one of the realizations that I had by looking back at my own human design is that I am designed to do things, find success different from the way that the world finds success. And I always forget about this, right? Because I carry that channel 29 and the channel of 29 to which is the like discovery channel, we call it, but also it's the design of someone who succeeds where others fail and fails where others succeed. So to me, it was huge, right? That was a huge revelation that came from having to slow down, right? So if your Saturn squared your sun, maybe you were being asked to slow down, to rest more so that you could gain clarity about what your next steps are, about where you're going. What are you doing right versus what are you doing that's not quite the right thing for you? So I think it always is the universe, the stars, the archetypes of the energies working in our favor, even though sometimes we're like, Pluto, get off my Saturn, right? Which I had. Tom had, Londa had, we, and some of you are headed toward that now. Pluto and Aquarius, if you have an Aquarian Saturn, you know, your Saturn is going to be, you know, sat upon by Pluto. Should be an interesting time for you. Anyway, it is a a pleasure to share these things with all of you. And I hope you're learning things about yourselves through this. And if you have questions about it, you always have the option to reach out to me and ask your questions, right? Ask your questions here in the chat. Email me those questions. And I love questions. I really do well with questions. Also, thank you, Narges, for the reminder. Please hit the like button, share this with your friends and your networks of people, and thumbs up if you are on Facebook. And don't forget, the link is sitting here and I'll also put it in the descriptions, both on Facebook and on YouTube, for you to sign up for the webinar coming up on Saturday. It's my first time doing a Saturday webinar, so I'd like to hear feedback about what you guys think about doing them. I've always done them on Thursdays for whatever reason. Thursday just seemed like the better day. So I'm going to try Saturday and see what happens here. All right, that's it for me today. Remember, ask yourself the question, what do I desire? Right? What do I desire? What do I really want? Where am I excited to take my energy? All right, that's it for me today. Bye, everybody. Have a good week.